everybody. Welcome to the Motherlode Show. This is actually the last official episode of our first season. So we're coming to the last episode. We've got an incredible guest, Sandra. We will get to her in a second. We're really excited to have her on, and you were actually on her show, which I got to listen to, which was a lot of fun.
How did I do?
You did great.
Okay. Yes.
You did awesome. That was amazing. But I do want to talk about. So there's this little thing over the weekend called the NBA All-Star Weekend. Like crazy, right? Like, so I think we both knew that this young man was gonna do well, but then just literally watching him in the 3-point shoot, I'm like, this is insane. Like, it was a very surreal moment for me. I can't even imagine what that was like for you.
So what is today? Today's Tuesday. Okay, so when I got home, it's kind of when it resonated. There's so much going on. It's a fraternity for all of the veterans and former players, and then you have all these media people and fans, and it's a lot to take in. But I think what I tried to do is just kind of not be on any schedule, just kind of flow, go wherever I wanted to go. I look at Jalen's list of, his itinerary, and I'm like, yeah, I'll choose that one, or I'll sit this one out. So,
which one you were like, I'm going to sit that one out? I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
A lot of the stuff. And that's, and how fitting that our next guest can kind of help walk us through that experience that I had, because I probably missed some things. Probably should have had her on before I went so I could know what to do, what to go to. Kind of went to a couple of little hobnobbing events in the evening. But other than that, I was just trying to soak it all. It was a lot. It was fun. It was, Jalen looked really comfortable and looked like he was enjoying it.
He really did. It looked like this was not his first rodeo there, but it was absolutely his first rodeo.
So it was great. It was cold. Snowy. Traffic was worse than in New York City, and I didn't think it could ever be worse, but it was. And so, but we had a great time. I was tired a lot at night. Was trying to get like either espresso or one of those energy drinks to kind of keep it going. But I absolutely had an amazing time. I'm so happy to see him reach a goal. And this one, this is a goal. Kids think about this and whatever, but it's like, wow, we're really here. Like I text Coach Wright, like, I'm pinching myself sitting here watching. Like, it's not registering. So, but it was great. And nice to see there were a lot of new firsts. And again, this next guest can kind of help us talk about some of these things. It's like, I'm excited. Like, our friends and fans, our supporters I don't even know how I was lucky enough to even be introduced to this wonderful soul here. And I say that only because I think every mom, wife, girlfriend, fan would like to get to know her perspective inside the world of the NBA. So without further ado, wait a minute. Did I ask you how you were doing? I'm sorry. It's all about me. It's a women. I apologize. How are you?
It doesn't. You just had an incredible weekend with a great milestone. I do not matter, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Don't say that. You do matter. Oh, you know what? Don't feel guilty because you've been to all the other milestones. You should have came to this one too. You've been to the state.
I was at the state championship. I was at the very first NCAA Final Four. When they went to the final, I told my wife, I'm like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to get to see one of your guys. And then 2 years later, I was like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And she's like, they're playing Michigan. You gotta go. So she's been supportive of that. But yeah, no, it was awesome. Plus, I love being the guy, when I'm like, hey, Rick looks good in that flannel, and you're like, ooh, send me a picture. You don't get to see the TV aspect. So I'm happy to be that guy for you.
When he came in, I looked up like, oh, okay. Wearing a little flannel. Okay,
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was
Who was on
fun.
that shirt? I saw it was Patrick Ewing, and then I could tell
Mark
it was
Jackson, Mark
Okay.
Jackson, and Patrick Ewing. So
Okay. Yeah.
keeping it all sports.
Love it.
Okay, well, let's get into this new episode. And look, I'm like beaming. I don't know why. Why am I cheesing so hard? I have no idea. I didn't drink and no cocktails right now. It's afternoon. Have water. Okay,
Well,
so
if you need me to catch up, I've got Chicago. So we've got the Malort. back here.
damn. No, absolutely nothing. Natural high. I'm telling you. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Kate Foley. Kate Foley is the CEO of Epic Consulting Group, and she is also what I'll say a super agent in the NBA. And she is also, I was actually had the pleasure of being on her podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it's her table, and she's a co-host with Megan. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it, Kate Foley.
All right. Kate, welcome.
Hi, y'all. Good to see you.
Hi.
Good to see how are we doing? So I always feel like when people have their own show and I've seen it and it's great, like how are we doing so far? Is this somewhat
I'm taking notes here, like literally.
Sure.
I honestly feel like we need to have a full-on collab on a set with the four of us together. It would be
Okay.
like the never-ending show, probably, because I feel like we would all just get on so well.
That's an idea.
Just
You
like a
know,
little dinner table time, and have a nice drink and dinner table and catch up. No.
all right? I'm there if Sandra's there.
I will definitely be there. And Kate, I don't know if you had heard our little intro, but I was saying how fitting it was to have you on as a guest. But I'm thinking I probably should have, tapped your brain a little bit before I went out. I've gone to All Stars before. And I haven't gone in a long, long time where I actually went to a game. And
Okay.
it was a great experience. But for you, I mean, I didn't see you. I thought I was going to get a glimpse of you one time. You were probably staying somewhere in an Airbnb, somewhere like most smart people were doing to get out of the busyness of the hotels. But at any rate, were you there?
It wasn't. I actually did not make it in. So one of my
Oh.
clients got hurt. So he did not participate. So yeah, which is, par for the course. Welcome to the world of sports. So I decided I had just come off Super Bowl, and for me there wasn't, again, you can only do so much. And I have been to so many that I was like, you know what, this is a great experience for somebody else to get to champion and and be
Got it.
all in crazy. I do you guys had snow and all kinds of I do not understand for the life of me why the NBA insists on these cold weather places. It's getting to the point where it's slightly, unfair. But I'm also like reminded people live in that all the time, and you're obviously on the East Coast in the cold, and I'm on the West Coast in Phoenix, so it's nice and
And
75
I grew up in
here
Detroit.
today.
You got to get to the cold because that's where the real fans are. They're the ones that come out in that weather all the time.
Die-hard, the
They are
That's
the
fair.
real
That's
fans.
fair. No, it's
Yeah.
honestly it is. It's super fair. I like to visit the cold. I'll visit the cold. But I'm a West Coast girl now. Like I got thin blood, thin skin.
Yeah.
It is go. I'm like geared up. I'm the crazy person with the hat on, the gloves on, the coat on, the boots on, and it's like I'm in a straight on, sleeping bag, and I'm like, it's really cold.
And we're like, it's 71.
That's honestly what it's like here. It's entertaining. I can always tell because in the winter in Phoenix we always get snowbirds. Is what they're called, and there are a lot of people that come here, and they basically summer winter in our winter, and so they're the ones that are outside in t-shirts, flip flops, and it's 75, and I'm in a sweater and boots because it's 75. So I can tell who's from here and who's the snowbird just based upon what you're wearing at the time of
Kate.
year. So.
Poor Kate.
It's a tough life out here, you guys. I'm telling you, it's hard.
I got to tell you, the only thing that I wasn't prepared. I actually did not check the weather. I usually check the weather before I go anywhere. I was
Whoa.
like, whatever. I didn't check, and because I really didn't care. Because I'm like, I'm not going. I'm not going. I people watched. I sat
Did you
in
sit in the lobby?
Sat in the
That is
lobby.
like it's like Vegas. You
Yeah,
can
you
sit
just
in
watch
one
people.
place and have the best experience and not have to go anywhere.
Yeah, and people watch.
I see, and I even take it like another level, and I make up the stories to go with them. So I'm like, oh, that's Sally, and that's her coworker Ben, and they're on a trip from here and there. Like, you know what I mean? When you're in the airport, you actually, after a while, you start. So I'm like, oh yeah. So at All Star, it's you know pretty much everybody, but the people you don't know, you're like, okay, that must be process of elimination, this person, or you just make up a whole story, and then every time you see him, you're like, there's Bob again. You don't really know Bob,
Yeah,
but you feel like
we
you
literally
do.
ran into people all the time. That was like to the point where I was wondering if they thought like she has no life, like she's what, or maybe I'm thinking of them. Like I literally saw a staff member from the hotel within the span of like 30 minutes. Saw him in and out of the elevator. We both were on and off the elevator maybe like 6 times. Just up and down, and I was like, he probably thinks I'm an idiot. Like, you
It's
know,
like this lady, we
but
need to check
security
her
was
credentials.
really tight. Security was really tight, but again, we had a great time. We're so happy for Jalen, and yeah, again, I was like, "Is that Kate?" I was like, "Nope, no, that's not. No." And so, but
You're
kudos
cute.
to you for being able to get a little break, I guess. And
Yeah,
stay
no, it is.
home and
It's been one of my biggest learning lessons in my journey has been to not, it's a struggle, right? You always want to be everywhere. You can't. And then you have to kind of pass the torch to other people. And in order for them to grow the way I have, they also have to have those experiences as well. And so I oftentimes, like, even my internal team is like, hey, do you need to be there or is it somebody else's time? And sometimes it's a me and sometimes it's a nope. It's, this team member's time to let them kind of go and shine because it is I always say All-Star and Draft are like gauntlets. You go into them and you come out them a different person. And you either come out where you don't want to talk to anyone for a couple days because you just can't. I mean, my team's always like, you cannot walk through the lobby. Last year, also they were like, do not let Kate stop. If anyone, like, she has to keep. Otherwise, you're in the lobby for 2 hours. By the time you see people, you cannot get from the door to the elevator without stopping and talking. And you're just like, I just want to go to my room and like be away from people. It's amazing the amount of just intenseness that goes on, and I feel like it's a little bit of people are in this hotel together. It's so hard to get in. First of all, it is like a complete, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going through the metal detector, bags off. If you walk out and walk back in, you're doing the whole lineup over and over again. They don't care, and I appreciate it and respect it because with the world we live in, like it's good to have. But I'm like, dude, you just saw me. I literally just went out, got this coat from the car and came back and they're like, yeah, we don't care. And I'm like, but are you sure? And they're like, no, we don't care. You have to take everything off, go through, do it again. So once you're in, Steve, you're kind of committed. Like Sandra, once I'm in, I don't, unless I have to leave, I don't want to leave because it's such an effort to get back in.
I'm not going anywhere, and I'm, it's
And then there'd be
definitely
me like, ooh, what I get to go through again. What's gonna beat this time? And I'll be like, all right, yeah, this is awesome.
They're like, sir,
they're
it's
not
a
doing
10 limit entry max on the day. We're gonna need you to like slow it down, or you're not gonna be allowed back in.
This is not a ride. This is safety for human beings. So,
Yes.
okay, got it.
So
Yes.
let's talk about your journey because obviously you have when you went to high school in Hendersonville,
North Carolina. Yep.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yep. It's a really small town. It's right outside Asheville is like the next biggest city. And then the next biggest city would be Charlotte. It's in Western.
So you're a
North
Southern belle. I hear it. Don't you hear it, Steve? I hear a little Southern.
I don't want to say, because if she's trying to hide it, I don't want to, whatever. But she's not doing a great job of hiding it.
No.
You can hear it.
Okay, so because when I read, trying to do my homework, and of course our beautiful and lovely Anna Lee prepares us. I was like, Hendersonville. There's a Las Vegas. There's one. In Nevada. There's one here. There's one. So I was like, where? But North.
And there's one right outside Nashville too, right?
There's one in Tennessee too. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
So
I like to say mine's the only one that counts. The rest of them I don't know.
There you go.
Mine's
So,
not-
and I couldn't help but see that you played volleyball in high school. Did you play in college?
I did not. So I played volleyball and then ended up tearing my shoulder out, lucky enough, and got one of those
Wait,
really...
did you say tearing your shoulder out?
Yeah,
Did you say out?
I mean, it was still attached. Like, it wasn't like,
Oh,
Was
all
it a
the
God.
way
dislocation or was it a subluxation?
No, it was a dislocation, but I tore the majority of the ligaments. So I had to get like a full reconstruction at like 17. So
So was it a one-time thing or was it a buildup? Did you do it a couple of times, little slippage here and there?
yeah, it was like a little slip, and then it was like, oh, I'm fine, and then it was like, I want to keep playing. You know, the typical athlete that's like, okay, I'm just gonna power through this. To when finally it was like, yeah, no more. So I got it redone, and then it just wasn't really the same, and it was in my hitting arm too, so it was kind of like, ugh. It just wasn't. It wasn't as enjoyable as it was before. So I left, didn't do that. Actually went into cheerleading, which is probably what I should have done my whole entire life, because you know I just.
So you actually were a volleyball player that could do flips and aerials and all those things like that?
Yes, I was one of those dumb idiots that like got thrown into the air and caught. You know, one of those people that's just
Flyer.
The flyer.
You
We
were
call
a
him the flyer.
flyer.
We learned that. Yeah.
I
Flyer,
learned
yeah.
that too. Okay, you were a flyer.
Yeah, I got dropped a couple times, and the funny thing is I'm terrified of heights. So that's the hilarious part of all of it, is that I'm scared of heights, but I chose to do that.
So to me, I don't know, I've never met you in person, but you seem tall to me.
I'm 5'7", so I'm not
Oh.
short, but I mean, I like to think I'm tall, but I put my shoes on and I'm probably average. I don't think I mean, listen.
You're around a lot of tall people, so
And I always have on heels. That's like my
Okay.
thing. Is I always have on heels. I don't know why. It's just part of my DNA. I'm probably one of the few female agents that does. Most everyone else doesn't like sneakers or dunks or something. And
sneakers are the new thing. Right?
Megan and I battle back and forth of like, which is it? So I'm the stiletto and she's the sneaker. Like it's literally the back and forth between
God
us.
bless
So.
you. My wheel. I mean, Steve, you don't have this problem, of course.
Nah,
But,
mm-mm.
No, I just wear whatever shoes you tell me to. Whatever shoes you tell me
I'm
to
trying to
wear.
make him a sneakerhead. I don't know if you
Okay.
caught one of our episodes.
My
I,
current ones that I wear is because she bought me, because
Okay.
she's like, you gotta, if you're gonna hang with me, you gotta up your game. And I'm like, okay,
Not necessarily like that. It's not
you
like
along.
that.
She's
but
bringing you along, Steve. Like, I mean, that's a beautiful thing when a woman's like, "Come on, we're gonna come along," because she could be like, "I'm
Yep.
just gonna leave him over there," but she's bringing you along. On
I wanted
the
to give him a
inside
little
and out.
swag, you know.
And she got me some maize and blue ones because she knows I'm a Michigan fish. She did it up right. I wear them all the time. They're awesome.
I mean, just trying to do my due diligence, just to,
One
when
person
we
at
were
a time.
when we were in studio or we were together, one day we like just looked down and it was just like,
No, she said, "Steve, no."
Sorry.
we're not doing this. And so the next time I came bearing gifts. So, okay, so enough about us or whatever. But so you went.
I
Okay,
love it. I love it.
I was kind of excited you played volleyball, but were you a middle hitter?
Yes, yes. I was middle.
So
I
I
was-
played volleyball
Okay,
in high school.
okay.
I think my high school year, my senior year, I did have a little slippage, but it wasn't a dislocation. And it kind of popped out, popped back in.
Yeah.
Did it 22 times during college till I finally had surgery in my junior year.
Stop.
Yeah.
Did you have one of the lunch boxes? That's what I got when I had mine, where they
No,
give you
no,
lunch
they didn't
box
give that. It was
underneath?
just, I was just
Oh.
right there like that. And
Oh.
so it is a very tough injury. And, I did everything and to strengthen it. Like they said, strengthen it, you'll be fine. It still happened. I mean, it was that hitting motion that,
Yeah.
so.
Even to
Anyway.
this day, when I sleep on my side, it's still like uncomfortable a little bit. Yeah. I
Knock
know.
on wood. Dr. Moyer did an amazing job for me. And but he told me if it starts to affect your everyday life, forget volleyball, like if you're putting on a coat and it pops out, which happened, if you're like so that's when you need surgery. So I'm so thankful that I did it my junior year. I was able to play again. It's a little mind over matter. It's kind of hard diving on the floor, thinking about your shoulder or whatever. But yeah, well, and knock on wood, I mean, it was never 100% the same, but I was able to play and without that fear, and it paid the bills. It got me through
Listen,
college.
I feel a little like salt and pepper actions coming in for us, just a little warm up, just a little, maybe at the beach somewhere. We can
And
just
maybe
warm up.
ooh, beach is
Ooh.
hard. Steve could be our
There's sand
I can be
everywhere.
you said beach, and then you said Steve can be our. I am curious where this is going.
my umpire. You could be like, we could have one-on-one volleyball, and
You can keep score. You can
I'll
keep
get
score.
you drinks. How about that? I'll make sure you've
That'll be
got
fun. That would be fun.
something fun to drink all the time.
No, it amazes me now. With everything that goes on in youth sports, it's so incredible to see just the advancements they've made, but just also what's available for young boys and girls and all genders to be able to do and participate in. Honestly, it's kind of unlimited, and you're like, how do you choose? Like, even with my kids, I'm like, we have soccer, we have tennis, we have gymnastics, we have to go to training, and I'm like, you guys, like, can we just like pick one thing? Can you guys all agree on one thing so my Uber isn't my Uber that I feel like is a little more tamed down?
Well, I gotta say, and I'm gonna date myself. When I was in school, you know, we all played everything, and there was a time for everything. But now it's just like, and Steve can attest to this because he has children too. See, I guess I'm the old hen in the group. My kids are out of college, but you could play one sport, finish that sport, then go into the next sport because it was a seasonal. Now it's like, if you try to play all sports and not concentrate on one, train on one, it's like you're kind of missing out. They don't do like, you could letter in all sports or whatever it used to be back in the day. Now, kids are forced to
Pick one or
kind
two.
of pick, right? And I mean, who knew? So with you, I remember I used to think my mom would kill me. I can't even have Sunday dinners with my kids because I'm running around, forget a meal, Sunday meal. It was just like whatever. And I'm like, we don't sit down. It was like Wednesday's this, Sunday that, you could never
Yes.
just have a schedule. And it's not like it used to be. And with that said, we can segue to for you so you didn't play in college.
I did not.
And
No.
so you graduated from, I think, Charleston Southern. I'm doing my homework.
Yeah,
Charleston.
Charleston
So how was that?
Southern, the Buccaneers. Yep, I love Charleston. It is one of my favorite places on this earth. If I could live anywhere in this world,
That's on my bucket list. That's on my
Have
bucket
you never
list.
been? You have to
Never.
go. Like, as Southern as I am, the fact that I like to sit on a front porch with a good rocking chair and a sweet tea and just watch traffic go by, like, that is how I want my last days on this earth to be, because they're just slow and easy and there's no rush to go anywhere. I think I'm like the opposite when I like to kind of check out. My life is so crazy all the time with work that when I get to check out, if I can even get there, it's like, I don't want to have to just like nothing. What do you want to do? No, I don't want to go on vacation and run around and do zip lining and tubing and all that stuff. I just want to sit and be still.
man.
Like, be still.
She
So-
sounds like a professional athlete or two. Right now. Because I got to tell you, that life, like, you just want to, like, while your family is home doing normal things, the 9 to 5, going to school or whatever, you're all over, right?
Yeah.
And then when you come home, they're like, hey, we want to go here, we want to do this, we'll go out to dinner, can we do this? And you're like, I just want to be home. I want to be in my bed. I don't want to do anything. So is that you? So the life of an agent
Yeah.
is similar to the life of an athlete, because you're first of all, I guess, and I'm jumping ahead, but you attend to how many, and we'll get into that, right, Steve? I guess, like, you have so many athletes, some clients and so forth, that you're always going nonstop. So okay, so what made you studied kinesiology, and what else did you study?
Business. So
business.
I thought I love to fix things. I'm one of those people that likes to understand, fix, problem solve. Like, for whatever reason, that's one of my gifts is there's always a solution. There is never a problem.
You're a fixer. So
Yeah.
you're like the Olivia Pope of the
Oh,
NBA.
yeah. It's funny you say that. So many people, and a lot of my guys I've been with for a long time, they call me Kate Olivia Pope. That's what they call me. And I get these text messages that it's like, Pope, I need you. And then I know
K-O-P. That's
K.O.P.
going to be your K-O-P.
K.O.P.
King of pressure, by the way. But K-O-P. K-O-P.
I got a nickname on the show. I feel blessed now. No, and I know if the ask is going to be really hard, because they're like, we need you to Pope something, or Pope, I need you. And it's like, okay, this isn't like a normal ask. This is going to require okay, I know what we need to do here. But
Wow.
it's so I thought I wanted to go into sports medicine. I loved it. I loved fixing things. I loved understanding things. I initially wanted to be an athletic trainer. Like, I loved being able to watch the process of someone, being hurt or sidelined and then getting them back, right? I hated 5 a.m. football practice. I hated sock tans, and pouring water into people's mouths was just not for me. So like once I learned all of those things that I didn't like, I was like, yeah, like I still love this and understand it, and I'm 3 years in, but this isn't what I want. This isn't what I feel like my calling is. So it was an interesting pivot of like finish your degree because you had gone so far to start over to then just we're gonna keep going, add a couple things on in business. I did not grow up wanting to be an NBA agent, work in sports. My daddy still thinks this is the funniest thing in the world, that this is what his daughter does for a living. Because I don't play basketball. I did not play basketball. Like,
Is he a big sports fan?
I mean, my dad played baseball in college. Okay. Like, I mean, it's just not. I mean, when you meet me, you're like, you're Kate. It's like, yeah, I'm just this small little blonde thing in heels that everyone's like, they thought I was going to be this 6'5" WNBA player. And I'm like the opposite of what they expect. So it's always that like shock and awe a little bit of it. But I didn't want to, and it wasn't even an option. Honestly, it wasn't like become an agent. I didn't go into this business wanting to be an agent. I didn't start in it that way. I started at Jordan and then got moved over to Nike, where we wore tennis shoes every day to work. Like I would show up in like Nike sweats every day, like in the office. Like it's so funny. It's like you walk in and there's just mannequins in the office and everyone's in Nike attire. And you know, it was one of those things where it's kind of like you find things you love and then you just kind of follow the path. Like it wasn't like now I feel like everything's road mapped and I have to do this and I have to do that, I have to do this, as opposed to it was kind of like, okay, I was at Jordan and George Raveling was like, you need to come to Nike. And I'm like, okay, like talk to them and transition over. Are you sure? Like, are you really sure? He's like, no, you'd be fantastic. Went over to EYB where we built the EYBL. Like, I'll date myself on that one. I was at Nike before the EYBL existed. Now, like, my clients are like, there was a time before it existed. And I'm like, yes, there was. So, you know, happy to be able to build that and run through all of, you know, their skill development for their elite players and then talent identification. And then kind of reached like the precipice at that time. There weren't a lot of women in leadership in Nike men's basketball. I don't think there were actually any, to be honest. I think most of them were like service reps or client coordinators or things like that, but there weren't any, I think they're called SEALs. They were then, but like, you know, your Nike rep, like your rep that was Nike that serviced and maintained relationships with those guys that in the pro level. So I transitioned out of there and went over to Octagon and started at Octagon as a coordinator for them and came in client servicing, and then just learned as much as I could, took in as much information as I could, and was fortunate enough to have clients that grew into amazing human beings, but amazing athletes, and was there before that happened. So it was kind of like you're learning as you go and taking it in. And I had a great mentor. My boss, Jeff Austin, is just a phenomenal human being and was curious. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing I can say is to be curious of why, what, how, you know, understanding why you're doing what you're doing. So yeah, little small town to Charleston Southern University. There were only 3,000 kids in my college, y'all, 3,000. I had to do my student teaching at Somerville High School that had like 6,000 kids at it. And I was like, this high school is bigger than my college. Like, oh my gosh. I was so intimidated. Wow. But now, yeah, AJ Green, he plays in the NFL, was one of my students at Somerville High School. I know, so crazy. But yeah, it wasn't like I was like, I want to be this. It just was kind of open a door, keep going. The doors kept opening. You just kept going. And now there's kids that are like, we want to be you. And I'm like, well, are you sure? Like, do you want to be what you see on like TV, like what The Rock is in Ballers? Or do you want like what it really takes to grind through this business? And it's
I love that show. I love that show.
Everybody.
Ballers. So good.
So I think everybody thinks that when they see someone and they admire, they don't see, well, obviously they probably don't know, but they see them where they are and they're like,
mm-hmm.
Wow. But it's probably a handful of them probably would be like, I'm done. I'm quit. Like, I'm not doing this, you know? And for you, I guess it was kind of like you were on this path, like, it's like to infinity and beyond type stuff. Like you were just going and you were just like, let's see. But did you enjoy the process. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because you said there weren't a lot of women, right? And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
maybe they didn't. And I'm just assuming. Um, I know whenever you talk sports back when, a lot of men would be like, "Oh no, you don't want it." No, like would say you don't want that. Like, or, I mean, I've always talked sports. But I don't think anyone ever like kind of endorsed or just said, "Yeah, you should. You know, you'd be good at that." You know, and so I
Yeah.
wonder when you said like there weren't many women, it was probably because a lot of people they were around never even.
Gave them a platform.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so now, like you said, there's this platform and so forth. So when you were at, can you tell us? I've heard of Octagon. Is it
Yeah.
a sports agency?
It
Is it
is. It is.
okay?
Yep.
So you started there, right? And so let me ask you this: where you are right now, as the CEO of this agency. Am I right to say agency, by the
Yes.
way?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know, because you never know. It could be a whole school. So,
Yeah.
what is it like a day in the life of Kate Foley? From the morning. So, okay, we know you're a mother of three, which,
Yeah.
again, great genes. I just got to say it. Steve's not going to say it. He's married with children, but I'll say it. I can say it.
You're so
Great
kind.
genes. You look fabulous.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
what is the day in the life of Kate Foley?
You know, it's funny. I get asked this question, and I always feel like I've got to get better at my answers, but my answers are never really the same because you're in this industry, like your days are so different, and
But hey, whoa. Don't sell yourself short. I'm in it. I'm along the ride. I'm like that person that's sitting in that, like in a, what do you call it, Steve? Where you have the bicycle and you have the little caboose next to the bike. I'm riding shotgun. I'm just along the ride. You are in it. I
Sidecar.
don't have to.
Sidecar.
Sidecar. I don't have to
she's
be
the
there.
sidecar.
I don't have to.
She's the sidecar.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm around. I see, but you're in it. So
Yeah, I
please,
mean, I'll say this, different seasons require different things, right? And I think I used to make this joke back when I started. I was like, we have summers off. None of our clients were good. The teams weren't good. And we got summers off. So when I came into the NBA, I was like, this is awesome. We work from like October to April and then we're off. And then I had clients that decided they wanted to get good and their teams got good. And then my summers got taken away. And I was like, wait, I didn't sign up for this part. Like, no. I think for me, a normal day for me, honestly, is, get my kids up, get them out the door. They ride the bus to school because for whatever reason, the bus is cool. When I was in school,
the bus is cool.
The bus was not cool. And now the bus is like where it's at. Like it is, I just want to, sure. Okay. So again, and it's the most boring bus ride too, because it's only like 5 minutes. It's like the last stop and to school. So it's not even like they get to be on
That's
it with
pretty
their
cool
friends.
though.
Yeah.
Because you get the best of both worlds. You get to ride the bus, but you're not. Imagine the first stop. The first pickup is probably 45 minutes.
Well, and it's weird because now it's like the bus is cool, and I'm like I can't connect on that because I'm like I didn't ride the bus, like it wasn't cool, like I had to get dropped off or walked. Yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't a
close.
Cool thing to do.
It wasn't close at all.
I'm usually arguing with my oldest son about hoodies because he's right now into like the full-on hoodie, wearing a hoodie every day, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but can we wear something else? So now we have a hoodie rule in our house of you can only wear it 2 days a week, and if you listen, then you get Fridays as a privilege. But when you come, you cannot just wear the same outfit style hoodie and cargo pants every day. Like, come on. Let's put on a long sleeve shirt, something, but
crew neck it one of the days.
Yeah, I mean a Henley, like can we get it's up there. I buy it, so I know it's up there, but
if you need help, I own a screen printing company. That's what I do. So if you need some stuff, let me know.
I do. I'm just so it's arguing with him or my daughter. She is a carbon copy of me. That's why I only got one girl, because the world does not need more than two of us in one place at a time. So we will just let her live her best life. But trying to get all of them out the door, and then I'm usually in my office at my desk by like 7:30 every day, and I've usually probably responded to emails before then. Because I get up and just check in the morning. It's hard being West Coast a little bit because East Coast is already there. So there's a lot waiting for me every morning, which is great. But then it's also, I feel bad when I'm emailing people at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, West Coast time, and it's 7 p.m. there. So I remind my team that's on the East Coast, like, you're not expected to reply, but I'm still in my work day, right? And you can get to it the next day. So that's always interesting to do. And then at my office, spend majority of my days on Zooms, calls, meetings, presentation prep. The thing that has been most interesting to me in the last probably 2 years of my career is the people management. Like, you know, when you're in a leadership position, you not only have to do the work, you have to teach the rest of your group how to do what to do and lead them, manage them on top of, you know, your talent and properties that you have. So I've had to learn,
because it's easier to just do it yourself, right? In most cases, but the harder work is teaching somebody else to be able to do that.
So true. That is so true. And sometimes I catch myself of being like, hey, nope, don't. And I know they're not going to get it necessarily right the first try, but it's the process of them learning how to do it. And so I have to remind myself that I'm not going to be doing this forever. Like, so I have to teach them how to do it in the culture that allows them to feel like, you know, they can succeed is important to me. So watching them try and find a culture. I mean, a lot of our staff is remote. We travel a lot. So we're not all together all the time. So making sure they all feel connected. But yeah, that is one of the hardest parts. So my day is probably 7:30 to probably 8:30 every day. And then, you know, if you have games on or you need to deal with stuff, it's the same thing in the evening, you know, because obviously we have games West Coast out here. So it is, most days I'm like, it's 2 o'clock and I forgot to eat lunch and what's going on? Like, you just look up and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you're like, wait, what? Exactly. So I'm an old school, I'm an old school handwriter. I don't take notes on the computer. I have a notebook. I started this habit probably 5 years ago. Every day of what I'm working on, what I did, if I completed it, check it off. But it keeps me honest because the days I'm like, I'm not getting anything right, I can look back and be like, you are. Like, you know what I mean? You can remind yourself of all the work you're doing because it doesn't always work out. You don't always have, you know, rainbows and sunshine every day. There's days where you're like, I call it the dumpster fire days, Sandra, where it's you wake up and you're like, there's 4 dumpster fires happening. And the one you deal with is the one that's like floating away. It's like that meme of like which dumpster fire, you know, there's a dumpster fire, it's just floating. That's the one we're going to first, people. Like, that's it. Here we are today.
Right.
Wait, you have, so the days are full. So that's something we have in common. Like, you know, do you even do your children play sports? Do you go to their games?
No, they do. So we have gymnastics, we have tennis. I put them by default. I try and make my life easy. I have an amazing nanny. Couldn't do it without her, like literally. But it's like my life is very scheduled. And so when I don't have something to do, I often find I'm like, don't know what to do. So it's like, that's when I'm just like remind myself, sit and be still. But yeah, it's always, there's, whether we're at gymnastics, we're at golf. Now they want to play golf. And I'm like, okay, fantastic. So they didn't have school yesterday, so I took them to Top Golf. Which was
a great place.
It's so fun for me.
I live about 45 seconds from a Top Golf. So
I thought you were going to say you live at Top Golf. And I was
live, sometimes I do. So I have a season pass where I can go from 9 to 5 and sometimes I'll just work from a bay. It's fun.
They have good food.
Yeah.
Good. I like I don't know, is it the long game? Like the drive the ball, the driving, you know. I don't like the short game. I don't like
I'm not good at that either.
So yeah, so that to me is fun. I like it. I got to tell you, the first time I went was that Jalen was drafted and CAA it was Summer League and they had a little event there.
Yeah.
And there was like a monsoon dust storm that came from Phoenix. All the power went out. Generators I was like,
a haboob.
Oh my God.
It's called a haboob.
From Phoenix. That's Kate's fault. Kate sent that to you.
I sent it.
She did. He was like, darn it, I didn't get the pick I want. You know, so it was crazy because you could look over near the strip and
you can see it coming.
Yeah,
you see it coming. It's the first time I ever experienced it. My dad was out here and you get a warning like on your phone, like an emergency alert comes up and it's like dust storm warning, pull over, because it's like it's almost like a blizzard. What you guys would have as a blizzard,
Like a whiteout.
Yep, it happens so fast and you can't see. And I remember getting the warning, and my dad was in my pool, and I was like, "You need to get out. This is happening." And he's like, "No, it's fine." And I'm like, "Dad, come on." And then I was like, "Fine, you're grown. Enjoy. Like, have a best life out here." And you could say,
Just keep your mouth closed.
I'm not going to argue with you. I'm
Goggles.
going to shut the door. Yeah, like, I hope you can hold your breath. Like, this is going to be interesting. And you can just see them coming, the dust coming. And usually we get an insane rain after them, which is also really weird because it only rains like 30 days a year out here. So
That's what happened.
Eshahaboo. So when it rains out here, everyone gets excited because you can, it's raining. No one knows how to drive. You get to use an umbrella. You can wear super cute rain clothes. Because it's funny, we complain out here that the sunshine gets boring, but it's like, how many clouds are in the sky today? None. Like, if you have clouds, it's a different day. Compared to like Portland, where it rains every day, and they're like, no one works when it's sunny. Like, when I worked at Nike, that was always the joke when you couldn't find anybody. It was like, it must be sunny in Portland because no one's at their desk. Everyone's outside.
Yeah, Portland.
Walking around. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, so it's, yeah, I sent that straight to you. I'm glad you got my message. It's like a little late, but you did get it. Like, the connection's now making sense. So thank you. Making it go. But yes.
I wonder, there's so many things to you. Like, okay, so you have the kids and they go to school, they do stuff. So is there a time that, I know this from my son, anytime I would call his agent, and before I reach them, they answer, and if they don't, they call right back. Do you ever shut your phone off?
I was going to say shout out to your agent, because that's a good agent. Like, it's not common that is how it goes.
It's
and actually,
either they don't have enough, he may not have another client, right? I don't know, but he does. Thank goodness. But I mean, it could be, he might not be busy, but he is.
Sure.
But
no, I don't ever shut my phone off. I do try and set, early in my career, I didn't really have healthy boundaries as far as like who I was as a person. And I think that's the one thing in this business that you can get so caught up in, is like, you are Kate the agent, but you are also Kate the person. And so you, as a younger me, was like, always be accessible, always be this, always do blah, blah, blah. Now I'm like, okay, like, does this have to be dealt with immediately, or can I get to this in an hour? Like, what's the dumpster level of this one? Because you can get caught up really fast in not being a human and just constantly 24/7 be in it. So I don't ever shut my phone off. Like, even on airplanes, like, I'll still have Wi-Fi, but I've tried to be really honest with myself and where I'm at in life, and the level of respect that I give my clients, I want back, right? Like, I'm not going to call you at 7 a.m. because I know you're not awake. I know you're not. But if I call you at 7 a.m., I want you to answer, because that means something's very important, right? And so the flip side of that is, I do have a family, and I try and treat all of my clients and anybody I work with as people first. Like, you are a person, and you happen to be really talented, but I want you to remember you're a person, and I'm a person. And so I've tried to, especially for me at Epic, create this culture that is, I celebrate you as a person, and then I support you as an athlete, but I will celebrate you as a person, because at the end of the day, it's all gone. I don't want who I am to you or who we are together to change based upon where you're at in your career. And so I learned really hard that being accessible sometimes, not accessible, but over accessible, creates unhealthy boundaries, because everybody expects you to, it's 2 a.m, I can't remember my PIN on my debit card. Yeah, well, I'm not the person to call for that. And I'm not. Because I have a rule that, like, unless you're dead, dying, or in jail, like, respect me at 10:30 at night. Because if you call me at midnight, it better be for something really important, not you forgot your PIN number. Because the next time you call me, I'm going to be like, I'm not going to pick up because you're being disrespectful to like who I am as who I am as a person. So that's how I explain it to them, is like, unless you want me to just have free reign to be able to call you whenever I want, when you're napping in the middle of pregame, like, no.
That
like,
was my next question.
yeah, like
Is there a thing to that? Because as
There
a mom,
there
you know, I
is.
know, like, you don't call the athlete, the talent, or whatever. Like, I leave my child alone on game days. I try to.
yeah.
I don't even like people putting us on group texts. I'm like, don't text him today. It's game day.
It's
Like,
game
leave
day.
him alone. And he's very mature. He's like, that's okay. I'll just push silent. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
You know,
but-
it's funny. Everybody's different. I'll say this. I've had some guys, and I think for me, it's one of the girls on my team, Melissa, calls it stage and age. Some of the young guys need to be taught how to have healthy boundaries on game days and what they need to get to put into that game. Because I think a lot of the consumers forget, like, this isn't just to show up and do it. Like, it actually takes mental capacity to be able to do what they do. And, you know, whether that's girlfriend, mom, wife, agent, somebody constantly needing something from them, that they oftentimes, it has the reverse effect, and then they just shut down and they don't respond to anyone. So it's finding that like healthy boundary for them of like, what does a game day look like for you, and what signifies success? Some guys are like, I have to talk to these 5 people every day. I had a client one time, played for the Knicks, like he'd call me every game driving from Westchester, like White Plains, into the city, because he had a good game when he did it one time, and then that just became his, you know,
his routine.
thing. And I'm like, I don't even have anything to talk to you about. Like, yes, I'm good, thanks, okay. Like, okay, I was just calling. Like, okay, moving on. But that's for him mentally. That was his like check-in. So I think it's, you know, there is a science to game day, and honestly, like having gone through this with so many guys so many times in the league, is, you know, their lives where they are, like where Jalen is now, right, won't be what his game day looks like 5 years from now. It won't. I mean, he'll potentially have a family, children, other things. So I always say, as soon as the family aspect comes in, they switch, because then they're like, holy shit, I get it now. Like, it's not just one person. It's like, yeah, you got to do all of these things for all these other people. You don't get to just, you know, show up. I know Russell Westbrook's, and you've been through this, Russell Westbrook's, where I've talked about this a lot, of like, he lives his own life and we live ours. And then in the off season, he has to re-enter basically our little ecosphere of what goes on the daily, because he's not been involved in it. You know, it's wild to think. It's so wild.
And then you see guys like Jason Tatum, where he's got, what is it, Deuce, that's just
Deuce,
all, you know, all there all the time, which kind of reminded me of, you know, you see pictures of Jalen back in the day with Rick, just kind of always around, you know?
Well,
I mean,
it's interesting, because think of it this way. There are some girl dads out there, right? But I don't personally feel like there are enough, I call them wins or celebrations of these men that have girls that are doing the same thing, because it's that like father son, it's my little mini me, whatever. And then you have guys that have daughters that are doing the same thing or a similar version of that, but it's never really highlighted. It's always like the guy with their son, and it's like, celebrate the guys that have daughters. You know what I mean? There's plenty of them.
My mini me is Abby. My mini me is my daughter. So
I love it. Now,
you're her champion. You're always with, I mean, Julie too, your wife, yes, but you're that. When I first met Steve or laid eyes on Steve, it was at a church event in Illinois. You remember Steve? I didn't know Steve anything, but he had his kids into, I think we were doing like a fundraising walk, like a mini 2K, 3K. I don't know how many times we walked around.
That's a long walk. What are you talking about, a mini? Like, that's long.
Well, it was mini something. Listen, he had a stroller. He had a baby in a stroller. He was walking, and I mean, and
I was in a velour jumpsuit, no big deal. Christian Dior, no big deal.
Yes.
It was in the middle of summer, though, or was it winter?
No, Illinois. It was a little brisk.
Fall, I think, is
fall.
Okay.
Overcast. So Illinois, Chicago, you can never tell anyway. But and he's like that girl dad, and it's highly impressive. And, Steve, you kind of rein it in for those dads.
She makes it easy. I mean, she's awesome. And then, obviously she's not a big sports fan, so a lot of those things I'd go to, you know, she would mainly go just to get that hug from Jalen at the end of the game. And, you know, that was why she would go. But yeah, you know, yeah, no, she's awesome. Even upstairs, like she's helping me with a project. I'm just like, you know what to do here, right? She's like, yep, got it. You know, and we're on the same page. So
it's been interesting for me in my career, you know, you see all of, especially male agents, because there's not that many female agents. They all bring their children to things. And it's like, oh, look, he brought his kids. How cute. And then you see some of us women bring our children, and it's like, how's she going to do her job with her kids here?
Ooh.
And it's like, wait, what? Like, even I've had colleagues, the same thing, where it's like, huh, okay. But, and so it kind of, when I was younger, I was like off-putting, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to be the reason to give someone, right? And so now I've tried to find healthy ways to bring my kids to things. One is just, it's insane. You guys go to games. People are just obnoxious. They're not respectful. It's just a whole event. And even now, like watching even some of my clients' kids go to games, they don't enjoy it because they can't sit there and just enjoy, because fans have taken it to kind of another level. And so I've tried to find ways. My kids don't care. Literally, maybe I raised them right, that they don't think that anything that I do is cool or I'm cool. It's just like, why can't you send in the snacks for the Valentine's Day party like Sammy's mom? And I'm like, well, you know, sorry, won't be there today. Like, I'm sorry. But at the same time, Sandra, it used to bother me and I would get so heartbroken. But now I'm like, that's someone else's job. That's their role. Yeah. Mine is to provide in a different way. And it's taken me a long time to find that self-confidence to be like, you know, that is Sammy's mom. That is her role to play. Mine is a different one. And so it's been, I remember when when I was pregnant with my first son, one of my colleagues, as soon as I told them, they were like, well, when are you leaving? That was their question.
Ooh.
Because it was automatically assumed. It was automatically assumed like you wouldn't work. And it's like, and meanwhile, I'm like, I've had literally children MVP years. Like, you know what I mean? I've had two-time MVPs. Like, just keep moving on and keep doing. But trying to get them to see what I do is very difficult, because it's not easy to explain to adults, let alone I had to go to a kindergarten class, and I'm like trying to explain to them what the NBA dunk contest is and this really cool new Wilson ball that we used last year that's on sale now. Like, right? Like, I could have gone in there and said I worked at McDonald's, and they probably would have thought I was much cooler than what I actually. It's like, cool.
So, well, you know, you raise some points. I mean, because now, I mean, although we've come a long way as a society with respect to, you know, women and men having the same titles and so forth and so on, you have to work that much harder. You have to, you know, like the early bird gets the worm. You like, do you have to go about your process differently than, you know, what you see your male counterparts or your colleagues do? Do you think that your process and your, you know, is totally different?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this. I think, you know, as a female in general, right? I think especially in men's sports, it is easier to put you down than it is to build you up. And I think that is like a threat mechanism a little bit of what happens if she's actually really good, right? And so for me, it's, you know, it's a blessing and a curse. It's taught me to have to work really hard and be knowledgeable and ask questions and be curious. I think it's easy to come in and say, I know how to do everything, and I've been through all of these things, and this is why I'm so great. But the reality is, you know, I'm great because of my team. I'm great because of my experience, but I'm also great because I am authentically who I am. And so that's not for everybody, right? And that's okay. And I think that's been the hardest part. Have there been moments where people want to be like, well, she doesn't play basketball, so she doesn't know what she's talking about? 100% that would be true. People say that. And it's like, well, that's, you know, that's fantastic. And I don't need to know everything there is to know about basketball, because I want to have a team that allows me to be great at this, and they can be great at that, and we collectively make each other great. I think it's, especially in the NBA, it's easier. This business is so oftentimes not fun. No one's really friends. It's very cutthroat. It's very, how can I get ahead of someone else? And oftentimes I have to remind myself that that's not me. If it causes me to come out of character, if it causes me to go against who I am, that opportunity is not for me. And that's hard to turn down. That's hard to walk away from. That's hard to be like, but this could be so great. But I know it's not going to fulfill me as a person and make me unhappy on the other side. And that's the hard part. But yeah, as a woman, you got to show up. I mean, girl, I worry about what I'm wearing and what is someone going to think of it. And if I show up in a pink suit, it's going to be like, look at this. But that's me. And so the younger me was like, fit in, be muted, don't stand out. I felt like I was like the royal family for a while, right? Like, don't wear the same colors as people, blend in, don't create attention, blah, blah, blah. And then I would lose myself in who that is. And so now I'm a big proponent of just show up as yourself and be proud of yourself. And there's room for everybody. And I think women, especially in sports, in the NBA, like, we've come a long way, but there's still so much, like, again, it's always interesting to me because I had a colleague tell me one time, he said, when are you back? And I said, because I had just had my first son, I said, what do you mean, when am I back? And he was like, well, like, when are you coming back to the office? I had just had a baby 3 days ago and was like, what? And I didn't know any better and felt the pressure of like, if I'm not there, they're going to replace me. It's going to be someone else. And so it was like, no maternity, back to work, 2 weeks, like, and in hindsight now I'm like, bro, I should have taken like a full on year, lived my best life. Like, but it was that pressure that was, whether that's self-inflicted or culturally inflicted on me, of like, if you're not there, they're going to give your opportunity to somebody else. And that sucks.
Yeah. Well, one of the thoughts I had as you both were talking, and female sports have come a long way, especially since when I was growing up. But what were your thoughts on the Steph versus Sabrina, 3-point contests? For me, that was super fun to watch. What were your thoughts on that, both from just an entertainment, but then also as maybe a milestone type?
Yeah, your question's fantastic. It's honestly, so I was assigned to Steph for 8 years when I was at Octagon. So before anyone cared. And so was able to be a part of his growth. And seriously, like before anyone, I remember getting his first Capri Sun deal and he loved it. And that's what was so cool is we went to the store and there it was.
That's awesome.
And it was like,
I remember watching back at Davidson being like, who is this dude and where did this dude come from? That was
Let me switch gears a second here, because I now I can ask, I'm not at a game, so when you see people, agents or whatever, it's like hi and bye. But since I have you here, we have you here.
Oh no.
When you are looking for a client, okay, what are you looking for, or how does that work? So do you guys look at, let's take the draft, right?
Steve's like, what's it gonna take for me to get like my chance? That's really what Steve.
But I mean, like, not only are you trying to, is it like the recruitment process for you? Like you have a list of players, you and your team, that you're looking at, up and coming, and, what is that like? What is that process like? And, have you ever turned down a client because it's that client, or said, you know what, I think we're done here? Like, have you ever quit?
I have.
Okay.
I have. Sandra's like trying to get all the tea here. Like, goodness gracious.
And this is, we don't know who, what, when, and here, but I'm just curious. Because,
So part of one of the things when I started Epic was I wanted to do the right things with the right people for the right reasons. And, having talent is a beautiful thing, but you can be an amazing talent and a terrible person and it won't work. I can't teach you how to be a good person, but I can help you become a better basketball player. right? And so I've kind of flipped what is normal in the industry, which is like, get the guy with the most talent, looks the best NBA potential, to where I'm like, okay, where's the kid that's going to be coachable? Where's the kid that's going to put in the extra work? The kid that wants this not just for the moment on the podium, but for a career. And so a lot of times when I meet guys, we'll have our scouts go out and watch games, identify talent. We have meetings about, you know, who makes sense, who fits who we are at Epic, and what our culture and our character guidelines are that stand, you know, with who we are, right? We're not for everybody and everybody's not for us. And that's okay. I think being very specific in who you are is important. And like for us, so we have Epic, so it's EPIC. So it's excellence. Everything we do must come with a level of excellence on and off the court. And that's for us as a company. I is for intentional. Everything we do has to be intentional, from whether that's with clients, with brands, in our personal lives, with the company, with, you know, how much time we're spending where. Everything has to be intentional, but then our clients need to be intentional too, because time is something you can't get back. And then P is for personalization. Like, everybody needs something different. We are not that cookie cutter agency that's like, join the team so we can add you to our roster and we're all going to be the same. Like, everybody needs different things in order to be successful. And so working with them to identify what success looks like for each of them is so important to me, and their families, because they're not the same all the time. And then C is commitment. Like, I don't treat the number one pick different than I treat the guy that goes undrafted. And in the sports world, that's not the case. If you're not making them money, they don't pay attention to you. If you are falling on the draft boards, we'll call you, don't call us, kind of thing. And I've had enough experience over my tenure to try and find what I love and feel good about, to where it's like, my guys that have been with me for 15 years get the same treatment as the guys that are rookies now. I just get to include those vets in that rookie's experience, because we all stand and mean the same thing, right? Like, we all are believing and working towards that goal, as opposed to, we just want to have 200 people on our roster, make as much money as we can, and I don't really care about what success looks like for our clients, because it sucks, because that is what is. And so I'm different in that space of, I can't do it the other way. I can't just be like, great, let's just sign all these guys, because I'm like, but what are we doing for them? Are we helping them? Are we teaching them? Are we educating them? As opposed to just like, great, I have 12 guys in the draft this year, but do you know them as people? Right. Do you know what's important to them? Do you know what's important to their families? Because 5 years from now, their life isn't going to look like what they might have thought it was. And then how do you manage them then if you don't know them? Now you're just trying to figure out a person who isn't where they wanted to be, and you're trying to solve it for them, but you're not solving it for the same person. So, you know, it is a recruitment, right? Like, we do identify talent, we do recruit, we do a lot of like homework and research. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of people around the league to get feedback from, and honest feedback, not feedback that's like, oh yeah, we want something from you. It's like, hey, he'd be a good fit for you, because they know me as a person. And so they're like, he would be fantastic for you. You would help him, as opposed to just like, yeah, he's a great talent, right? And so a lot of that's like showing up authentically as myself, because they're like, that'd be great. Or, Kate, that's going to be a lot of work for you, and he's not going to get what you want. And it's a hard thing when you part ways from a client, because ultimately it's their dream. My dream is not to meet Adam Silver on a stage and put a hat on and shake his hand. Like, that is not my dream. Like, I promise you, that is not it. That is your dream.
I just want to put my hand on his head. I just want to just put my hand on his head and just point out to the crowd. That's my dream. And not even drafted, just. So
you just need to be sitting behind him then, basically. Like, that's really what it is. Like, you know, you need to just sitting somewhere behind him, and you can achieve that. But trying to, you know, be different for them is important, because these guys have so many guys pulling at them. Somebody wants something all the time, and I just want you to be a good person and be happy. And what does that look like for you? But when you have to part ways from a client, it's hard. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because you feel like, as a woman, I'm nurturing, I want to fix, I want to help.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
But at the same time, if we're not working for the same common goal, and you're willing to put in the same amount of work I am, we're not going to get to the same place. And so you have to be really honest with yourself and honest with them, and say, like, I love the saying that says, you know, to figure out what you need to get where you want to go, you need to ask somebody who's been where you want to go, right? And so I'm sitting here telling you, here's a blueprint of how you can get where you want to go. I've done it over and over and over again, but you don't want to do it. And so you're not going to get there, and I can't make you do it. I don't want to make you do it. I want you to want to do it. And so when you reach guys that are like, hey, we've been together 2 years, 5 weeks, 5 days, we're not on the same wavelength, it's never going to work. And so that's why really being solid who you are as a core and what you stand for and what you represent is important, because that's going to attract the same type of person and character and player, as opposed to we're just cookie cutter and we'll give you whatever you need to hear at the moment to make it work.
Yeah, that's refreshing to hear. That's pretty cool. All right, I'm in.
Okay.
So wait,
okay, send it over.
What? Okay, I think I have 2 more questions, and that's it. Because I can ask you a million questions. We're gonna have a part 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, have you ever? And I'm sure you have in your tenure. What is it like to make that call to tell your client that they've been traded?
You know, I've had it happen a couple times. It's so bizarre. Again, it's funny when you come into this world. It's not like there's a book. Like all of these kids that want to be agents, yes, there's the CBA and there's all these things, but it says they're traded, they have to report. It doesn't say how to have that conversation. It doesn't say what are you supposed to say in this moment. And so a lot of that is just, you know, you take from people over the years and you put the tool in your tool belt and you get there. If you're lucky, you have a great, you know, boss or leader or mentor that you can go to and say, hey, I have to have this hard conversation, awkward conversation, great conversation. It's not always met happily. Some guys are like, whoa, thank God. Some guys are like, whoa, you know what I mean? They're like, I've been waiting on you to call me finally. Like it can go either way. I think a lot of it is just how you approach it. And
do you find like sorry to cut you off. Do you feel like it's like a race against time? Because hello, that little ticker now that goes on ESPN, some players and they're like, what? I didn't even know I was traded.
Totally. But it goes back to your point of some guys get traded during a nap. I mean, what am I going to do? Send the police to open their door? No. Like, you're just like, bro, when you wake up, you're going to find out. You know,
it's on your way to the arena.
Yeah, when you wake up, you're going to Detroit.
I think yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Welcome to Detroit. There's a moving truck outside. You know, I think I had a guy traded at halftime one time of a game. Like,
what? Mm-hmm. Did you say traded at halftime?
Mm-hmm. Kirk Heinrich was traded.
Heinrich?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do remember that.
I remember that.
And so
he wasn't traded to the team he was playing. That wasn't the game where he was traded to the team where he was playing them.
Shut the front door.
There was a game where somebody it was baseball, where they literally just went to the other dugout, like in the 7th inning of a game. It was crazy.
No, that would have been beautiful. Yeah, no, he, I think it was the Wizards to the Hawks. I think is how we went. He was traded that way. And so, you know, it's like, okay. The hardest part is, you know, the unknown of trades. The calling them when it's official and it happens, to me, it is, what is this business? And I think that's why educating them on what it is good, and having these vets give them, this could happen. And it's not the end of the world. We're going to pick up. We're going to go. It's going to suck. But this is what you signed up for. And it's hard. So I think, you know, I had Wes Matthews. I was actually in Shanghai with Jimmer. So I was 13 hours ahead. And he was traded on the road. He was traded to the Knicks from Dallas. Was traded to the Knicks. And I woke up.
Was that the Porzingis trade?
Yes. No. It was a trade before that. It was like him and another Dennis was another point guard was traded. There's like 3 guys in the trade. And he was traded to the Knicks. And it was the middle of the night in Shanghai. I'd taken a like ambient sleep because of the time difference, because I was only there for like 3 days. And I woke up to like hella calls. And I'm like, what happened?
Wow.
And he was traded on the road. And so fortunately, you know, he didn't have a family at that time. So it was just him. So it was like, okay, great. Move your stuff. But like, you know, guys are traded. Like you've been through this, Sandra. Like you got 24 hours to report. You are on the next. You don't go to the locker room. You don't go get your stuff. They throw that stuff in a box and they ship it on. You don't go back. And so I think there's this level of like lacking of closure.
Yeah, wow. I
Right?
didn't know that was the case.
Yeah, you have to report immediately, because if you get hurt in the middle of the trade before you report, they can waive the trade off and not claim you. So it's like, as soon as you're traded, you can't play, you can't collect $2, you don't go past go.
Wow.
Straight on. It's like, just...
You don't get that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air moment where he's looking around in the living room. You don't get that moment.
No. And so, some guys need that moment, and some guys will eventually get it. Some guys I'm like, thank God you don't have to go back, because I don't know how we would handle that, because you probably would act a fool in a locker room. So it's probably a blessing in disguise. It's hard because they're people, they're people, and it's a business. And so, learning how to navigate that. I've asked one of the people I always draw from is some GMs. They're the ones that trade the guys. They're the ones that waive the guys. They're the ones that sit the guys. So I try and take as much as I can from GMs that are friends and assistant GMs and people that I've worked with in the industry. So like, how do you have those hard conversations? Because I know I'm going to have them. So I want to know that you can get to the other side. And after you've had a couple, you're like, okay, you can do it. But I think part of that also is just the education of these young guys of like, it's very rare. You've been through this, Sandra. Like, it is very rare to be on the same team your entire career. So there will be a time in your life at some point, multiple or maybe just once, that you are moved, traded, whatever, to a different team. And, that is why the nucleus and the core of who's around these guys and the people they have investing in their life and investing in them as a person is important, because nothing about you should change based upon where you're traded, where you go, awesome. Right?
That makes sense.
And so it's like, like if you're easy and you're here and I see you every weekend because I live in New York and you play for the Knicks, that's not a realistic management of a client to me, because if they don't play there, they're not. And in their mind, they're like, well, where are you? Why are you not here now? And it's like, well, you don't live in my city, so I'm not going to see you every week. It's like they feel like they're getting less than. So that's why just teaching them. But trades are... I hate the trade deadline. It's funny. I was actually at an event in Las Vegas. Sandra, you're going with me next year. I'm not even telling you what it's about, because
everybody's going to Vegas.
No, it's this day in the life. It's called Day in the Life of Jen Weltzer's did it. She was the first female coach in the NFL, and she's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist for women's football. Like, she is a phenomenal human. But I got signed up to go play a day in the life of football. Well, I don't play football, first of all. And second of all, no one told me how hard it was going to be. We were out there tackling people, running plays. Like, I was tired from the warm-up, but we had like a playbook like this big. You had to learn the plays. I mean, it was insanity. And so I always laugh, because I'm reminded of how much like I'm in sports, but I'm not in sports, where I'm like, I'm in the business of sports. I'm not in the game of sports. And they're very, very different. But trades are, when the guys are younger and they get traded, it's easier. It's definitely harder when they're older. They have kids and wives, and you got to move a whole thing. I mean, you guys saw what happened when, Drew Holiday was traded, and how hard that was for his family and his wife. That is real. Like, that is real, and that's hard. And that's why, some guys, their families don't move where they are. Like, Chris Paul's family lives in LA. His kids go to school there, and they come in on the weekends when they can see him. Like, it's too hard to move them around too much.
In whatever time of their life at that particular time, and I remember. It's
the stage and age. Again, it's true form of stage and age. But Steve, what's hard is when guys get traded in like a 3-way team trade. My least favorite trade is a draft night trade, because they take longer to process. Because it's, you walk on the stage and you put on a Suns hat, and by the time you get to the end of the stage to meet me, you've been traded to another team. And I've had that happen like 3 times now, where it's like a top 10 pick is hat, shake, end of the stage, new team. And then you have to sit in a room until it's done. It's like when Jimmer was traded on draft night, we sat in a room for 6 hours before the trade got approved. And then he had to go to media. Because
I picture now what you say. I'm now picturing a padded room where he just has to sit there and not move.
You get some snacks. Like, there's no phones allowed. There's no nothing, because you can't speak on it, or speak to the team, because that would be illegal to speak to a different team or GM or coach until the trade is official. So it's like all these nuances that, like, that's why I say sometimes you have to let younger staff have these experiences and take from you and learn from you and ask and be curious. But until you go through it, you have no idea how to navigate that. It is the most wild thing. But had I not gone through it, I wouldn't have known how to do it for the next one. And it's not going to be the last one. So
that is true.
You know what I mean? So you take the knowledge and you take your lesson and you keep going and learning. But it's definitely an interesting, it's an interesting space. But yeah, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change what I do. Some days I just want to work at Starbucks. I'm getting really good at like making my own latte at home because I'm like, the worst thing that happens is I mess up your coffee.
Barista.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have like 50 more questions, but like we're pretty like, even when you talked about Jimmer, like the 3-on-3 stuff that he's doing, and like he was so fun to watch. Like Jimmer, I could talk about forever.
Oh, have you met him?
I've never met him. I've just enjoyed watching him and watching him play in the 3-on-3s, and like he's back in college, man. What was it? BYU, like tearing it up. Like, yeah, he was fun to watch.
When we go back,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We go back there and it's still like that. I'll tell you this, had I not, so I had Jimmer right out of BYU, recruited him at BYU. Like I remember going to my first BYU game and I was like, sold out arena. And I'm just like, what is going on? And Jimmer had like long shorts, scraggly hair. Like he was a hot mess. His driver's license picture is still the same picture from college. I actually just saw it the other week. I'm like, this doesn't even look like you. This is embarrassing. Your wife, you should thank your wife every day that she has turned your life around. She brought you with her. But she did. Shout out Whitney. Like she has brought him along. But Jimmer Mania was before social media.
Oh yeah.
And so that happened, and it was a true indoctrination for me of just, like being in pro, people chasing us down streets, like just, you couldn't go anywhere. I remember when he was drafted, he went to Sacramento and he called me and he was like, Kate, I just ate at Chipotle. And I'm like, are you okay? He's like, no one bothered me. And I was like, what? And he's like, no one bothered me. And it was the first time that no one had bothered him and let him have like a meal in peace. You know what I mean? Like just let him be him. And so it was refreshing, but we're doing a doc. You're going to have to check it out. We're doing a documentary on his path to the gold this year. So it's an inside look. We start filming next week for him on who he is now.
Yeah.
I know. So exciting. You're going to love it. Well, it's funny because he's just a regular person. That's why you got to meet him. Like he is so like normal, like just one of the best humans. But again, that's why when you work with great people, they become part of your family and part of you because they're the same mentality. You know what I mean? It's the same mentality. You have the same champion, the same win. And that's what's so special to me. So when you have to let some guys go, Sandra, it sucks. But there's a purpose in everything. So,
exactly. Well, we have to definitely have a part 2 because we have so many questions. I
have one for you though. What was the best part about All-Star and what was the most challenging part about All-Star? And did you have to buy tickets? Be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure my credit card got tapped a couple times, but not many. We didn't take a lot of people, and which was great. But
Jalen told Shaq he had to buy 10 tickets. Is what he told Shaq.
Well, he had 10 tickets.
Okay.
Half of them were comped.
Got it.
Okay, so that's not bad, right?
That's what no one knows.
And they're not cheap, Steve. There's no a la carte.
No, you get 2 comps per event, and then after that you got to buy. That was like always like my guys' biggest beef was like, Giannis would want his whole family to come, but then for his whole family to come, be like, $10,000 to watch the game, and he's like, I have to play in this, but then I have to pay to have my family watch.
Right.
Fly there, hotel. There's a whole. I'm sure. Listen, I'll see that bill and at the end of the month. But the best part, priceless. Okay, so seeing Jalen relaxed. It's rare to be in an arena with him with a basketball and not have some tense moment, whatever, and feeling like, okay, but it was kind of like, yes, it was work, so to speak, but it was a very relaxing moment to see him relaxed and a smile. He smiles at everybody, but it was a different routine. So that was really one of the best points. The hardest part after that, I think, when we checked in hotel, like that was crazy. Just getting in and every people, my room's wrong. I have 2 beds. I wanted a king. Okay. So it was just, a lot of logistics, that type of stuff, going up and down the elevator because I had to go to various people to do up various things. But all in all, it was a successful weekend. It was a glass ball moment, Steve. Kudos to St. Marshall, but
wrong
Kate,
side, right over here. Boom.
Yes, our glass. Yes. So, Kate, I want to say thank you. You've opened our eyes to a lot of things that, and from a perspective for an awesome human, we say from a woman's perspective, but actually to take the time to kind of convey your innermost thoughts about things. A lot of people don't have the time, so I appreciate you.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Letting us, get a little glimpse into your world, from the kids down to the, the clients who are also, children at some point. You care about them just as much.
Stage and age. Learn the phrase today. Stage and age.
That's a nugget. Stage and age.
Age.
We want to thank you so much for being on and visiting us. I look forward to seeing you around. I'm going to be I don't even know where I'll find you, but I'll ping you somewhere somehow. And I would love to just learn as much as I can from you.
Oh, please. Come on. Now we need to, I'm telling you, we all need to sit together, the 4 of us, and just sit down and break bread and do that. And
NFL.
It'll be beautiful.
Because Megan is NFL. So, Steve.
Okay.
There we go. Basketball versus. We should have a trivia. Basketball versus
trivia. I host trivia
NFL.
nights. That's another thing
we
that
might
I
have
do.
to
So
do
we'll make
that.
it happen.
Yes, we'll make it happen.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it and making this so easy and fun. And I love meeting amazing people in this space, but also celebrating amazing people in this space. So thank you. And you guys keeping your awesome selves on the Motherlode Show.
Yeah, I feel like we could have gone on for another hour easily.
I had questions.
I know. You were even typing in the notes like, I got 3 more questions, and then she would just add so much depth to the one, and you couldn't interrupt anywhere because it was just she was given such value to the show,
wealth of knowledge, and just some of the inner thoughts of, like, again, we can assume certain things, but for someone like her in her position to take the time to kind of give us an in-depth look into the life of sport, the NBA, it's amazing. So yeah, we definitely got to have, I'm going to have like questions lined up, rapid fire.
We'll do a hot seat. We'll be like, all right, here we go. Hot seat. Boom.
We're doing hot
boom,
seat.
Boom.
Yes,
boom.
Exactly. The whole, I was thinking about that, the Sabrina and Steph competition and what the take is. And also too, anyway, that's another show. I can get on and on, but I have questions. But she was a great, great guest, and I'm so happy she was able to join us.
Well, and my favorite part of the whole thing, obviously she's accomplished. Obviously she's done so many things, but just the way she just keeps stopping, and people are people, and treating people like people, and you hear some people say it, and you're like, all right, right, but like you with her, you truly believe it's part of who she is and what she does and how she runs her business, and it's
exactly
it's a refreshing thing to see for sure.
Definitely. So I look forward to sharing this with everyone, and actually again trying to get her back on for a part 2. Yeah. And I can't
in our next season.
Yes. Yeah, she might have to come on every year.
So this is it. This is the end of the season. We'll probably do some kind of recap show, but in terms of our guests, this will be the last one of season 1 of the Motherlode, and this has been fun.
This has been fun. We are growing, and actually, props to Annalie, who's keeping us, focused. I know.
How many shows would we have recorded in the last 3 months without Annalie?
0.
Exactly 0.
We agree. 0. And so, Annalie, kudos to you for keeping us on task. I know we're not easy. But
We are not.
I know.
Easy.
Okay, I'm not easy. I'm not. I won't even speak for you. I'm
Well,
not.
no,
easy.
I just and I even like you have to send me a reminder like we got to pay her. We got to pay her.
We
I'm like,
gotta
oh
pay
shoot, immediately like boom boom boom. So we are not easy. But
No. But she's made
been
it
awesome.
happen. So this is the Anna Lee praising segment of our show. Kudos to Anna Lee. And no one else can have her. Don't call us. We're not sharing. We're not sharing.
Kate's already recruiting her over here.
So, but I can't wait for season 2. We're gonna get better,
Yeah.
bigger, and I mean, our guests from season 1 can't top them. But as far as just the level of how we go about doing our shows, I can't wait to start season 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I can wait a little bit. I need a break.
A little bit, but I mean, we're gonna get in, start recording some stuff, and
Maybe I'll get
tinkering some stuff, and
maybe I'll get a new set.
yeah, just put a set in my little office. Yeah, but no, this has been awesome, and we will see you guys probably shortly. I think we're gonna do a recap show, so that'll be the next time you see us. But yeah, that's it for season 1 of the Motherlode. You can check us out on YouTube and all of the places that you get your podcasts.
Take care.
All right, bye.